Wow. The Mets have traded Brandon Nimmo to the Texas Rangers in exchange for Marcus Semien. Before we get going into this with our reactions, our opinions, make sure you subscribe. Subscribe to the Mets'd podcast for all your Mets content. We'll be coming at you as much as we can. We really do appreciate it. James, initial reaction from you, because mine was like, whoa.
I mean, first reaction just in baseball, trades are back. We've had 3 major league for major league player trades in the last 5 days, so that's kind of cool to see. But gut reaction for the Mets, it was a priority for David Stearns to trade Brandon Nimmo. Like, we said that as the season was ending. That was weirdly kind of both of our bold predictions heading into the offseason. The fact that it happened before Thanksgiving, before the winter meetings, is kind of crazy. But this was something that it seemed like was a real goal for them to set out to do. And it seemed like as long as you can get off his contract, they're almost willing to take any back. And you did take back a pretty bad one also in Marcus Semien.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of Mets fans where if this is the trade, meaning that this is the move that the Mets make, this isn't a domino that helps other ones fall, I don't like the trade. But knowing David Stearns, knowing this Mets organization, kind of seeing what the plan is, and again, I think we've been kind of ahead of the game with what we think David Stearns is going to do in a given offseason. We were talking about Nimmo trades before anybody on planet Earth were talking about Brandon Nimmo trades. He's now been moved. Surely this is going to be opening up left field to either get a Bellinger or maybe a Kyle Tucker, or I'll even throw it out there. I'm sure the Mets are interested in a Fernando Tatis if he's available in a trade. If that's what we need to do to get one of those guys, I like it. If this is if we're just talking 1-for-1 Semien for Nimmo, I don't think the Mets are a better team with Marcus Semien over Brandon Nimmo 1-for-1.
No, but I also don't think there's any chance that that's the case.
It can't be. Because if it is, Mets fans have every right to riot. Like, that's a riotable trade. But surely that's not the case.
No, and there's 2 parts to this trade that we're going to have to think about a lot. One is what you're saying, like everything happening on the field and with the team, where it's like now you have an open spot in left field, a plot that's much more easily upgradable offensively in the spot in center field. Now you have a better defensive second baseman, something the Mets team wanted. We know that they're also dying to trade Jeff McNeil. I'm sure that news will come anytime in the next week, 2 weeks.
Feels like it could be in the next 48 hours, honestly.
It could be in the next 48 minutes.
Yeah.
It could happen before we stop recording this episode. But the other part of it, there is a major emotional tie between me, you, every Mets fan to Brandon Nimmo. Like, Brandon Nimmo has been the Mets organization. Literally, Mark, for you and I, we're not really spring chickens anymore for half of our lives.
Pretty much, yeah.
Drafted 2011, didn't play high school baseball, the American Legion stuff, Cheyenne, Wyoming, grinded up through the minor leagues, you can't say this about a lot of players, got the most out of his abilities, became such a good player. Brandon Nimmo wound up in the top 10 in Mets history in so many different stats. Top 10 home runs, top 10 in walks, top 10 on base percentage, top 10 extra base hits, top 10 runs scored, top 10 in plate appearances. He took the 9th most plate appearance for any Met in the history of this franchise. It's hard to kind of let all that out of our minds, where at the same time, I can't get this nagging thought out of my head that we've spoken about a lot in this show, that there was just something about this core that wasn't really, never really clicked in, never really got over the hump together. They never really were able to. And this isn't anything specifically about Nimmo. It's not about Pete Alonso. It's not about Francisco Lindor. It's not about Jeff McNeil individually. But as a unit, those guys, that crew, that core, whenever the pressure was on them, they never really rose to the occasion. They one time kind of exceeded expectations. A few times they had these major chokes. And it's not the worst thing to me to get a lot of changes going on in that room right now.
Yeah, like it's very bittersweet right now, because it's like the closing of one chapter, which, like, I was talking to my dad because I'm back home in Westfield now, just for a couple days, and we were talking about it, and it's like, it's kind of weird that, like, looking back on Brandon Nimmo's time as a Met, as much as, like, I loved Nimmo when we worked with the team, he was incredibly nice to us. You got to do the interview with him when I was out in Texas doing my nonsense over there.
Sign that contract.
Yeah, sign that contract. You got to talk to him, and I got to talk to him on the field one day when you were working and do like a little mini TikTok interview with him. And he's always been incredibly nice. He was a fantastic player for this organization. Like you mentioned, he will go down as one of the better players this organization has ever had, and especially in our lifetime, one of those guys where he's up there in terms of like my favorite Mets of all time. But looking back, it's going to be weird to be like, Brandon Nimmo was kind of one of the Mets of all time. Like, he was good, but he didn't break any of the records. He wasn't here for any of the success. He just kind of existed in this weird, almost transitional period between the Wilpons and the Cohen era. And it seems like, now to kind of bring it all full circle now, it seems like, and I've mentioned this before, there's been still some Wilpon stink around. Not that Brandon Nimmo stinks, But
Not at all.
if you look at this organization and the old era that was here and the new era that's now coming with the Cohen stuff, Brandon Nimmo was still a part, weirdly, of that old Mets 2011 Wilpon era. And maybe this is just something that needed to happen for this team, for this organization. Maybe this also helps Brandon Nimmo. Like, I'm sure he's going to go to Texas and be great. He is still very, very valuable to this team, very valuable to an organization. It's just for the way that the Mets want to build this roster and everything moving forward, he did kind of get squeezed out a little bit.
Yeah, and it's not a contract that David Stearns or at this point any executive would have signed. If Brandon was a free agent after this season, I don't think he was getting 5 for 100 or even the 5 for 96 like he wound up getting after we kicked in $5 million total dollars to acquiesce this deal, which is kind of funny to think about there. But it's a spot where the Rangers just had an unbelievably bad season offensively. We just had an unbelievably bad season in general, mostly from pitching and defense. They got something that's going to be a huge upgrade for a bat for them, and we got a huge upgrade, we hope, defensively. And if you want to break every single thing down, like I think that's at the core of this, while also still acknowledging all that baseball stuff, but being kind of sad about like the nostalgia of Brandon Nimmo, because that's just one of our guys.
The human element of this is tearing me apart. Like we've always talked about Nimmo being traded on this, but it never really felt real. And now that he has been, I'm like damn it, like I really liked Brandon Nimmo, and I'm gonna miss the child of God. And I thought he was a good leader, and I'm gonna miss him sprinting down to first base, like all the stupid little shit that he did. I got to sit on the left field line a lot this year, and he waves to all the kids before the games, and he's talking to them. He's giving them baseballs. Like,
signed so many autographs.
He's genuinely one of the best guys in the entire sport. So I hate to see him go, but like the fucked up thing about how baseball is, and sometimes it's really hard for us to separate, not us, but just in general, Mets fans to separate being a fan from wanting to win and all that kind of stuff, is like, as good as it's felt with Brandon Nimmo being around and as happy and great as he's been, the end goal hasn't been accomplished. And at some point, this Mets team and organization does need to turn the page and be like, we need to win a World Series. I don't know if you're the piece that gets us to where we need to right now.
I think there's an acknowledgement by Mets fans everywhere that this core didn't have enough to kind of get over the top, whether it be specifically on the field skill, and also it seemed like locker room cultural stuff, because we kept hearing about these locker room issues over years over here, and there were massive jokes multiple times, and massive times when you had, again, like kind of teams who had their sights set on you, pressure was on you, their expectations on you, you didn't deliver. But then now in actuality, watching this core get broken up, that hurts a little bit. And this is now the precursor to Pete Alonso. I actually weirdly think this makes it more likely Pete Alonso comes back.
Which I love that.
Rather than less.
It makes me a little nervous just because, again, it's like
cold-blooded.
It's cold-blooded, which not bringing Pete back I think would be stupid and cold-blooded. At the same time, again, my brain can't stop thinking about like guys that weren't Stearns guys coming in. I know Lindor technically is, but he's not going anywhere. Lindor's fucking sick. Like, we know that. Where Nimmo was no longer that sick he's still good, but he was never that underrated king that he was back in like 2022 or even 2023. The last 2 years offensively have been rough, and he's only getting older, getting worse in the corner. That's where I like the killer instinct of Stearns, but it is weird to then go get an old second baseman as the fill-in.
Yeah, but I also think getting the old second baseman is the kind of situation where people around baseball looked at this contract and were like, this is a bad contract.
Like Nimmo, you're saying, right?
Yes, Nimmo. Yeah. But then to get off such a bad contract, you have to take on a bad contract.
Yeah, there was almost no world that they were going to be able to trade Nimmo and be feeling good about what they'd get back.
No, it's funny because when we talked about possible places where Nimmo would even consider waiving his no-trade clause, Texas came up to both of us immediately. But we were thinking much higher, things like we can add on pieces to get Seager or Jacob deGrom on there. And I dropped in the Mets'd Discord. I'll put the link in for that at the bottom of this episode right here. On Friday night, I was like, I really think that that's something that could possibly be a fit, Nimmo in Texas. And it does work out, but to take on the Semien contract's interesting. Because now let's bring it back to baseball.
Yes, let's talk about baseball now. We've done the sentimental shit, emotions. And I think all you guys agree, like, as a person, as a fan, you're sad to see Brandon Nimmo go. But you listen to the Mets'd podcast because we give you that. We also give you the truth. And at the end of the day, this could end up making the Mets a much better team, which sounds crazy.
If you are still carrying a clunky leather brick that can be mistaken for an old school wallet, may I introduce you to what Eric Kratz is getting himself for the holidays?
I mean, this is the greatest wallet that I've ever seen in my life. Your credit cards fit in here. It's adjustable, lifetime guaranteed. Like what, like this is a must have for the holidays. Absolute must-have.
Ridge Olive Matte. That is the design that Kratz has right now, and you can get a hold of that. There's over 50 plus colors and styles to choose from over at Ridge. You can even get a wallet that features every NFL, MLB, or college team. And for a limited time, Ridge is having their huge Black Friday sale. Head to ridge.com/foul to get up to 47% off your order. This is by far the biggest discount they've given all year. That's ridge.com/foul for up to 47% off your order during their biggest sale of the year. After your purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about Ridge. Tell them Foul Territory sent you.
Totally. So here's the funny thing about Nimmo and Semien last year. So a lot of people are really upset looking at Marcus Semien's season last year. And I think, honestly, that's fair because Marcus Semien hit like
Stunk.
absolute dog water last
bad.
year. He was terrible. I just picked a very random number here, a very arbitrary number for both guys. The final 311 plate appearances of each player's season.
Okay.
But that was just when, I mean, Semien kind of had the beginning of a season where it was a disaster. Like Marcus Semien started the year, he was hitting under 200 through the middle of May. Like it was really that bad. But it's just, he did turn it on right towards the end of May, beginning of June. And he had, here's a slash line for Marcus Semien for half the season to end the year. 270, 338, 464. With 12 homers and 311 plate appearances.
We get that. We're screaming joy because, like, what is that, 760 OPS?
That is, let's do some quick math here. No, that is 300, 400. It's like an 800 OPS.
Okay. Bump it down even more. If we get like 730 OPS out of Marcus Semien,
totally.
I feel good. Do we get that from him for a full season? Don't feel the most confident about it.
Here's the same time frame for Nimmo. His final exacted 311 plate appearances of the season. 272, 335, 413. So about a lot of OPS points lower.
Yeah.
And a big thing, the difference here is that Marcus Semien is a much better fielder. Marcus Semien's coming off a Gold Glove award. Marcus Semien still towards the top of the league in second baseman in terms of fielding run value, OAA, defensive run saved. It's not as good as it was a few years ago when he was like the best defensive second baseman in the league, one of the best defensive players in the league. But Marcus Semien is still a great defensive player. And I do think that, at least for this year, I don't know if we could keep projecting him because he's going to be 35, then 36, then 37 while he's still under this contract. We can do that forever. But in the short term, the Mets got a lot better defensively on the infield. I think that was a huge goal. And if they can get average hitting with that, I think they might have gotten better.
Yeah,
but they might not get average hitting with that.
That's the big if, is the hitting. Because I am interested to see what Semien's bat looks like over here. I know Texas has been suppressing the shit out of offense the last few years, especially to left field. So this is probably a welcome improvement for Semien because he does pull the ball down the line a lot, pulls it in the air, which is good.
Great.
So that stuff is great. I hope it translates to more offense. I'm setting my expectations extremely low. If that OPS starts with a 7, I feel good. Thrilled. Under 7 is what I'm expecting, though, from Semien. But with that premier defense, like you said, at second base, and to keep beating a dead horse, David Stearns, if you guys haven't heard, he wants defense. He's prioritizing defense. And while Brandon Nimmo was a better offensive player, the defense was not nearly as good. And when you look at these guys weirdly in terms of WAR valuations, basically neck and neck last year.
Yeah, especially when you do per 162, because Semien did break his foot towards the end of the year when he was hitting, and he probably could have gotten that OPS plus back over 100 by the end. So if you do WAR per 162, they wound up having very similar seasons. And that's why Semien had the worst offensive season of his career. Not expecting any kind of bounce back from Marcus Semien back to prime Marcus Semien. Not even close to that. Players don't usually bounce back at 35 years old unless your name is George Springer, which I guess we can keep our fingers crossed for that one. But there are a few things that Semien does well that we can be like you mentioned before, can play better in a place like Citi Field. He pulls significantly more fly balls than Brandon Nimmo. That's a big thing. And that's something that we hope can help him get to more power. If Brandon Nimmo last year was playing in Texas rather than Citi Field, or if all 162 games of his season were in Texas, not Citi Field, he would he wasn't playing 162 Citi Field in general. You guys know what I'm saying. He would have had 18 home runs compared to the 25 he had.
That's a lot.
That's a huge difference right there. And Marcus Semien would have had an additional 3 home runs if he played in Citi Field, 2 home runs compared to Texas.
It's I can't keep talking about Nimmo because he's not on the team anymore, which is crazy. But you should keep a little bit. I know. I just keep going back to it, and I'm like, again, they have to fill that Nimmo position. They have to with somebody good, and I feel like the rumors are Bellinger. I feel like Bellinger is the guy that it's going to end up being.
Seems like that might be the guy.
And do you feel better with Semien Bellinger than just Nimmo and whoever plays second base?
It definitely fully depends on the contract you're giving to Cody Bellinger.
Because that's the other scary part too.
I don't love Cody Bellinger. I'm going to be honest with you. If this is all to get Cody Bellinger, I'm like, I don't really see that. But that's also another move to get much better defensively. But is Cody Bellinger also an excuse not to sign Pete Alonso? Like, I don't want that.
I don't want that either. Yeah.
I
hope this is Kyle Tucker. Let's shoot for the stars. I hope it's Kyle Tucker.
I hope this Fernando Tatis Jr. But that's also what we'll leave it at that there. But I'm trying to see the vision. I'm trying to like find ways to do it. To me, this does feel like possibly slightly even player swap. You're trading some offense for some defense, and you're trading a 5-year contract for a 3-year contract on 2 objectively bad contracts. Like, if we can break it down all the way just to that, it starts to make sense in my brain, does it not?
Yeah, it does. I mean, like, I think over the next 3 years, so the remainder of the Semien contract, the difference added to the Mets payroll will be about $14 million, because I think it's $6 million this year, $6 million next year, and then he is $20 million the final year of his contract. Add in the $1 million that they're sending a year. So it's like $14-15 million a year, or $14-15 million total more the Mets will be spending on Semien than Nimmo. I wish that there was I wish there was more value we could have gotten for Nimmo. I wish we could have gotten a not 35-year-old second baseman, because again, if the defense ever deteriorates, we're stuck again with like a fucking
same thing.
Like, oh shit, what the hell just happened? But I guess the Mets are banking on Semien being dynamite at second base for the next few years. I saw some tweets online that people are not happy too. They're like, we have Luis Angel Acuna that could play second base. And I ask you guys, do you remember him playing last year? Like, he was a worse fitter than Marcus Semien. He doesn't field as well. So like, I raised you that one. He's a way worse player, which is crazy to say for compared to a 35-year-old. I'm so torn with this one. I can't pull the emotional side from like the baseball brain side apart right now.
Yeah, because I think this also was a trade that kind of like stopped you in your tracks. Kind of like getting hit by a car, because there's no way to see a player for player trade like this coming.
It doesn't happen in baseball.
We never see trades like this happening, especially for a team with the Rangers who are openly shedding salary. It's funny that they would take more years, but to them, they're saving $5 million annually.
Yep.
Like, they're Marcus Semien's $24 million against the luxury tax. Brandon Nimmo, after the $1 million being sent, is 19.25. I'm pretty sure. So that bang right there, you get $5 million to help your team. And for a team like the Rangers, who really have to play the margins tightly, that $5 million per year. For a team like the Mets, who has some huge long-term contracts in the books and are seemingly open to adding some more, you want to free up that time in the future of long-term contracts. So this trade, what this also did, the only players signed now on the Mets roster past 2027 are Juan Soto and Francisco Lindor.
Which,
that's it.
Yeah, and I don't think these comments had anything to do with Brandon Nimmo being traded. But we heard Adam Ottavino the other day on his live stream make some comments just about Nimmo and different things going on in the Mets. And one thing that kind of rings out to me is the comment about Nimmo being pissed how Lindor was getting all the captain-like conversation.
Which he did say that was the way he read an article about it. Not that he was in the room at that point, but Adam Ottavino did say that.
As a former teammate. And
yes,
while I think that a lot of it did get taken out of context, I do think, again, from a roster construction standpoint and everything, like we've even talked about that there's this weird kind of in-between with this roster where Francisco Lindor, according to the fans, is the captain. To the players, it might be 5 different guys. Brandon Nimmo has been in this organization longer than Francisco Lindor. Pete Alonso had been in this organization longer than Francisco Lindor. Jeff McNeil. And then all of a sudden he came in and it kind of became his team. Not that there was an issue. Not saying that. But it does set up
there was one issue.
Well, there was one issue with McNeil, of course. We know that when Lindor choked him out. But like, that does set up a weird dynamic. And then you bring in a guy like Soto now, who's the highest paid player in the entire ever in sports history. No one's made more money on a contract than Juan Soto. To add him then with Lindor, it's like, wait, are we like not the guys that you care about anymore? Like, Nimmo got paid. He got big money. And then all of a sudden, 2 more guys showed up and it's like, that's nothing, buddy. Like, it's weird.
At the same time, a guy like Pete, who was part of that core when Nimmo and McNeil got their big contracts, Pete didn't get his. No. And Pete came up a little bit after those guys, of course. Nimmo was on this team 3 years before Pete stepped into the locker room. But there always did seem like these strange clubhouse dynamics the last few years of this team. I was talking to my dad about this too before we came on here. And you remember the Tommy Pham quotes from a few years ago?
Yep. Where he talked about never seen a team that works less hard than the Mets did.
And I think he specifically mentioned Nimmo as being someone that did work hard, but I also think there's something about leadership, and not saying this anything against Brandon Nimmo or for Brandon Nimmo, but there's something about leadership, which is one, making sure you yourself work hard, but two, there's an element of making other people work hard, make sure everyone's taking care of themselves.
Accountability.
Again, not saying that was something Nimmo was good at or bad at, not saying any of that at all, but the fact that there has been quotes, comments, and things happening about this clubhouse for years now is interesting. And you can even say Todd Zeal just talked about this in SNY. The fact that Nimmo even waived this no trade clause.
Yeah.
Some that might be like, you know what, this team has been a bit of a headache. Like, let me just go to Texas, not pay taxes, and like get 100 acres of land.
Yeah, Nimmo did just get a payday, by the way. Like he just got a huge payday by waiving that no trade clause. Let's not make it out like he's the victim in this one. He definitely just made a lot more money, and I'm sure his family might even be happier out there based on what we know.
He gets to hang out with his friend Jacob deGrom again. Those guys were homies.
Those pictures are gonna absolutely tear me apart. Like the first opening day spring training pictures with those guys hugging. I'm like, motherfucker, how is this happening?
Kratz, we picked you to talk about MeUndies, not just because they're ridiculously comfortable, but also because they are very festive. When the holiday season hits, you go on the website and there are just so many more designs to check out. And they just scream Eric Kratz getting little matching sets with everybody that he knows.
You know what? They're called MeUndies, not YouUndies. So you go in and you say, this one's for me. This set is for me. This is what is good for me. Not YouUndies, MeUndies. A lot of different ones to choose from.
I'm so confused, but what I do know is that you can knock out all of your holiday gifting needs today with MeUndies, and to get the exclusive holiday deals up to 50% off, MeUndies.com/foul. Enter promo code FOUL. That's MeUndies.com/FOUL. Promo code is FOUL for up to 50% off. Matching holiday prints with your person, you can't beat that.
You guys are all going to see all the same usual suspects on Mets Twitter going to post those every single
Including
time
Mets'd
pop up. They'll be there every single time too. But there's this weird thing again that keeps coming back to me about the Mets clubhouse with this trade. Not that Nimmo was subtractive, not knowing if he was additive. Everything we heard, Nimmo's a great guy, great ambassador of the team, a great leader. But we also know from that Marcus Semien is kind of renowned as being one of like the best guys in baseball.
Glue guy.
Like first of all, he's won a championship. I think that's a good thing to add to a locker room. He has turned himself from talk about like Nimmo getting the most out of his God-given abilities, talents, and everything, turned himself to a player. Marcus Semien was a 6th-round pick from the White Sox.
Same year as Nimmo.
Yeah, 2011. It's actually weird. Same year as Nimmo, he couldn't even catch on with the White Sox. Went to the A's. Took years to figure it out with the A's. Became an Iron Man. Turned himself into a plus defender.
Right? Fixed
from
him?
a bad defender. Yeah, that was Ron Washington. But also Ron Washington, a guy who's been around the game for a billion years. He said Marcus Semien is one of the hardest working guys he's ever seen. So like, there's something about this. And Gary Cohen, similar right before Todd Zeal came on SNY, he said that when you send a high character guy out like Nimmo, you got to make sure you're getting a high character guy back. And Semien's probably as high character of a guy you can get. These are all things that are part of this trade, even past the stuff we're talking about on the field.
Yeah, I hope he hits. That's really the thing. All I can think about right now. I think it's hard to convince fans too on defense at times when you make a trade for,
especially at this point.
You
can't really see defense the same way.
No, you can't. You almost can't see defense. You can.
Yeah, true.
You can see it, but you can't see it. It's like Nick Castellanos hasn't made an error in like 5 years, but he's dog shit in the outfield. Like you kind of can and can't see it.
And again, you can't see it because also, like, if second baseman makes a bad play, it's like we didn't even notice that. Like, when Nimmo doesn't make a throw, we've gotten so used to watching Nimmo throw over the years. We're never even expecting him to make a throw anymore. No. We know the noodle's out there. But there's also still just these kind of signs of Nimmo's decline that we've been seeing the last few years. Like, the on-base percentage has cratered. We talked about this through the end of the year. Brandon Nimmo last year, of any hitter in the league that had at least 500 plate appearances, he saw the 4th highest rate of pitches in the strike zone. The only hitters that saw more balls in the strike zone last year than Brandon Nimmo were Jonathan India, Joey Ortiz, and Alec Boehm.
And keep that in mind, that isn't a year where he hit the most home runs in his career. So people are like, I don't really care you're hitting more home runs than ever before.
We're not scared.
We're going to challenge you. And not that people are scared of Marcus Semien. It's just about where Brandon Nimmo could be heading.
But Marcus Semien did see much fewer rate of pitches in the strike zone than even Brandon Nimmo just did on there. And there's some Marcus Semien. We talked about this a little bit before coming on air. He's kind of like a rat in the batter's box.
Yeah.
Like, he's a tough at bat. Marcus Semien doesn't really let many good pitches go by. He doesn't also swing at many bad
That's always been his big thing. That's kind of what he can get by with. The fact, because he's never been an exit velo god. He's never been like one of these.
Not a bat speed guy.
Not a bat speed guy for sure.
Definitely not.
But he is the classic, when I get my pitch, I'm hitting that pitch and it's being hit well. He's not going to be hitting bombs. He's not going to be hitting, 400-foot home runs, but it goes over the fence. It still has the same value. And he does that. He does hit home runs. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, it's pulled fly balls. It's really good swing decisions, and hopefully it's really good second base defense. And hopefully it's a good guy to add to a clubhouse that might need a good guy.
Yeah.
That's kind of where it comes down to. But I think the one part that is going to matter the most about this trade is what happens next.
Yes, because they now have a hole in left field, and we have a
Big
hole
one.
in center field. So now we need 2 outfielders. And got to get at least one if you're going to, because he did mention Carson Bench as a guy who could have an opening day position, David Stearns. But you still need one then if you got Carson Bench even starting on opening day. So it's like Cody Bellinger. Do they look for a reunion with Harrison Bader on a short-term contract? Are they going to go crazy and go for Kyle Tucker? Is there someone on the trade market we don't know? Seiya Suzuki's been mentioned as a name that could be available on trade. Could he be like a guy that you bring in? I know he can't play the outfield. That doesn't help the defense thing, but he mashes. I don't know.
And also, what does this do for the Pete Alonso coming back? Because we've heard the fact that David Stearns has been effusive in the fact that we don't see Pete Alonso as a full-time first baseman anymore. Now with getting Nimmo and running like the Tin Man off the field, like you now have open DH. Like there's this lot. It feels like there's a lot more avenues this team can go down now, which I think is fun at this time of year. I think also for a team that underperformed like the Mets did last year, and for a clubhouse that seemed like it was in as much disarray as it seemed like on the outside, it's nice to have options. It's nice to be able to kind of put forth 4 new position players possibly on the team next year.
Yeah, especially because the team didn't do shit. Like I think sometimes us as fans, we love the guys and we're like, come on, like that was just a bad year. But at the end of the day, like that was a failed season. You kind of can't run the same team back and expect a different outcome. That would be insane.
No, and it's fair to the fact that we can again look for now corner outfielders. I think that's a big part of this too.
Corner outfielders are normally like, if we don't go the Tucker route or whatever, like you can get good production out of a guy for cheap out in the corner. That's historically a spot where you can get like a good pop-off year.
And it's also the factor of Brandon Nimmo's value on that contract. It was 5 for 100. In terms of hitter, he's a better hitter than Marcus Semien.
No
clearly.
doubt.
We've said it over and over again. In terms of every left fielder in the league, Brandon Nimmo's not really special at this point.
Not the last 2 seasons of him.
If Marcus Semien can just be a league average hitter, like we're saying, we're not even shooting for the moon.
No.
I'm not even thinking about 800 OPS.
700.
I'm not thinking about 750. If you give me a 700 OPS,
702,
keep playing good defense. Give me 3.5 WAR. Give me 3.5 WAR next season. This deal is a massive win. And now I do wonder how this comes back around with Edwin and Pete, because we know from a report from John Heyman recently that there's a 4 for 80 out there for Edwin. Is that from us? So I think it's just ready to go. But I think they're still playing to see if they get the 5. I think that Pete Alonso's market feels soft again. I think that we like Cody Bellinger a lot. I mean, we, the team, I don't know Mark and I, but I think the Mets organization likes Cody Bellinger a lot. So we'll see if that's the case here.
I like Bellinger, but I like other options more. Now that we don't have Nimmo, I definitely like a lot of the other options more.
Also, anytime that any of these reporters talk about Kyle Tucker, they're like, and don't count out the Mets. But it's like it never really made sense. But now it's like, now it actually can make sense. But I feel like you would need his market to drop a lot. I think you would need to sign Kyle Tucker to a shorter term, higher AAV deal.
By the way, it's so going to be Bellinger. He had like 7 OAA last year playing the corner outfield.
So
he runs well. He throws well. While, again, the
Plays for
bat speed
space.
stuff and everything, get him to pull the fly balls like he did at Yankee Stadium. He probably still hits 25 to 30 home runs a year. Feels like Cody Bellinger is going to be the guy.
But it seems like it wouldn't be Cody Bellinger if his market's as robust as a lot of people are making it seem right now, and he actually could be in play for like a 6 or 7 year deal. Because if you swap out a 5-year deal for Brandon Nimmo for a 6-year deal for Cody
Makes
Bellinger,
no sense.
Then I will now be like, I don't like this trade much anymore. But just it feels like that is a player, at least stylistically, that the Mets are really, really want.
Got anything else, James?
Oh, I mean, got a few more things. One, the Marcus Semien last year sucked ass against fastballs. Brandon Nimmo did too. So it's like this just seems like 2 guys that were both kind of deteriorating at the same time. And it's just you hope you got the one for a shorter deal.
I think there's going to be a lot more moves made.
Oh, I think this team's going to look very, very, very different. And while it's worth being sad about players that we've come to build these relationships with, that we're sad they're not going to be here, I'm really okay with the way last year went for this team to look a lot different.
Yeah, as I've said many times, one of my least favorite baseball seasons ever as a Mets fan. It was a nightmare.
I want to get athletic. I want to get fast. I want to have strong arms. Marcus Semien is athletic. He's not young. He is fast. Doesn't have a strong arm, but just especially in terms of his corner
Is he still
outfield
fast?
spot. He's still fast. I think he was still 80th percentile sprint speed last year. let's get ready to. I just want to play a little bit more baseball.
Play a little better baseball as well overall. Yeah, Semien can still run 81st percentile. Fuck yeah.
If this whole thing is just to sign Cody Bellinger, I won't feel that great about it. But it does seem like also really high chance to get Carson Bench early next season. This also a vote of no confidence for Jet Williams. Clearly,
no, yeah, this is
very obvious.
You're not, or Jet Williams is mega gone, and we're going to make a trade that no one's even considering right now.
That's possible too, especially again. This is a great thing about with this new Mets regime. Shout out Mark Healy for not liking this, but the fact that talk about leaks.
Yeah,
none of those.
No.
None of those leaks. You could have been looking up the words Semien and Nimmo on Friday. You would have seen almost nothing in the entire world.
Yeah, there's no shot.
Crazy that this kind of major deal happened, and it's been reported. Our guy Michael Marino said it that it took Nimmo days to think about if he was actually going to waive his no trade.
Yeah, he had to
clause.
wait. That's where like my heart hurts.
I know, it makes me feel so sad.
I'm like, damn it, man. Like I wish you hated New York. You loved being here. He loved being a Met, and I loved Brandon Nimmo.
Especially because like I also see a guy like Nimmo having so much pride in himself and his game, being like, if they don't want me here, do I really want to stay? You know what I mean?
Like
and
him being hurt. Like
the fact that hurt him. I love Brandon Nimmo. There was so much time defending Brandon Nimmo to like my dad and my uncles in the early days of this podcast. Yeah. Like this is a really good player. We have to let this guy get a starting job and let him run with it. He's like a top 10 player in Mets history, which is crazy to say, unbelievable to think about, but they're building a very different team right now, and I think it's fine that that's happening.
We'd love to know your guys' opinion down in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe to the Mets'd podcast, not only on YouTube, but if you want to listen to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google. Drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, and subscribe. You can follow James on social media at
James Shiano.
I'm Giraffe Neck Mark with a C. We will catch you guys all soon. I got a feeling the Mets are not done yet, so keep an eye out. We'll see you then.
See you guys next time.
Peace.
Let's go Mets.